See, that's all I get.
Going to call the meeting to order. We'll have the invocation and then the pledge. Kevin Kersey will give our invocation, and Officer Christopher Powell will do our pledge, and after that, we'll go ahead and just cover a little bio. Don't slip out, people. Don't slip out until we at least recognize you, okay? All right, if you'll stand with me, please. Pastor, Reverend.
Let's pray. Father, Lord, as we come before you tonight, Lord, we come with grateful hearts. Help us, Lord, if we're not at that point in our life, to be grateful to you, to stop for a moment and just think about, Lord, all the things that you've done for us. Think about our city and, Lord, how we could be living somewhere else in some other country, Lord, and not enjoying the things that we get to enjoy here in Villa Rica. Help us to be thankful and always mindful of that, never thinking we deserve, Lord, more than we do. And so, Lord, help us to come with grateful hearts. Thank you, Lord, for our policemen, and we're thankful we're protected and that we have a police force. We're thankful for the leaders of our community. We're thankful for our mayor, the city council, and all those who serve in offices at the city of Villa Rica. And God, we pray tonight that you would help them, Lord, just to not have personal agendas, but to just have a desire to see the best for this city. And, Lord, to honor you with the decisions they make. And, Lord, there are times that we disagree and don't see things the same way, and that's just part of life. But, Lord, help us, Lord, to settle disagreements in a right way. There are wrong ways to do that, and there are right ways. Help us, Lord, to focus on the right ways. We're grateful again for this city. We're grateful for the people who serve here and to be able to live in this community. And I pray that when we look back after this meeting, we will be able to access and ask ourselves, what have we done to really make this place better? Was it about us, or was it about, Lord, this city and honoring you? And again, help us to be thankful and grateful. You're a worthy God, and we need to follow you. And we're thankful, Lord, that we can pray publicly right now in this city. And, Lord, for that we're very grateful as well. Be with us tonight, Lord, and just bless the things that take place in this meeting. And, Lord, help us to walk away knowing that we've done our part to please you. And we ask this in Christ's name. Amen.
Everybody please face the flag for me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to introduce the person that gave our invocation tonight is Kevin Kersey. I've known Pastor Kersey for many years now. Went to Cornerstone Baptist Church with him for a while. He's also the minister of New Georgia. He's the assistant pastor of New Georgia Baptist. And Pastor Kersey, how long have you worked with the city now?
I've been over 10 years, working on my 11th year.
So he's working on his 11th year in a very important capacity. So when you see the community service workers out picking up paper and doing the things they do all over the city, Pastor Kersey took on that job and has done an admirable job of doing that. So thank you for all you do for this community.
Officer Christopher Powell was born and raised in Villa Rica, Georgia. He attended Villa Rica High School and graduated in 2021. That's why y'all look so young to me. Officer Powell was hired at the Villa Rica Police Department on September 5th, 2023, and later graduated from North Central Georgia Law Enforcement Academy to become a certified police officer. After completing field training, Officer Powell was assigned to the patrol division on A shift, which is daytime patrol. Officer Powell is a member of True Life Church in Villa Rica and is currently enrolled in the University of West Georgia and pursuing a degree in criminal justice. Thank you. Thank you, both of you. Thank you.
You don't tell them who he is?
Oh yeah, that's
No, that's her grandson.
Oh, yes, somebody told me that one day. If I were you, I would brag too.
Am I ready?
You're ready.
It's on?
Police Department dedication, department dedication. And I am
This is
grateful to
the
get this.
Villa Rica Police Department dedication of our annual report. We do an annual report every year, and we try to dedicate it to somebody that has meant a lot to the department, that's meant a lot to the city, things like that. So, Ms. Marchman, you had it given to you before as honor, so we appreciate that. So this year, as you can see Hunter up on the screen, we're dedicating it to Hunter Etheridge. Hunter didn't know about this until a week or so ago when I called him, and he was wanting to come, but was not able to because of the hurricane down there. He's in Tallahassee, Florida, so he's not able to come, but he was able to join us tonight. Thanks to Jim and Teresa for getting that done. The Villa Rica Police Department would like to dedicate the 2023 annual report to retired Captain Hunter Etheridge. Captain Etheridge graduated from the University of West Georgia, where he was recruited in to Villa Rica. He then went on to serve with us with the utmost integrity for 16 years. Captain Etheridge started with the department as a night shift patrolman. While employed with the department, he was promoted through the ranks of corporal, detective, sergeant, lieutenant, and captain. Hunter was a huge asset to this department in so many ways. He maintained an example of excellence and modeled it for the officers he served along as well as commanded. He drew strength from both his faith and his beloved family to always be better than the day before, both in and out of the office. He embodied the title leader in every aspect of the word, both in what he said and what he did. He never jeopardized his integrity or the department's for any reason. He exemplified our serving with integrity motto in all his actions. Hunter helped in making some very necessary changes that were integral to the growth and development of this agency. These changes took us from being a good department to a great department that we can be proud to serve. During some of the most difficult hiring droughts, Hunter kept us on track by working tirelessly throughout the process to ensure we had the correct people we needed to do the job. He never allowed the departmental standards to be lowered just to get officers in the cars. He was very cognizant of the importance of hiring quality employees over quantity and then focusing efforts on retention. He became a mentor to anyone that worked with him and brought out the best in those around him, including myself. I'm honored to call Hunter my friend and consider him part of the Villa Rica family, Villa Rica Police Department family for life. I would like to truly thank him for all his service to our department. I also would like to thank his supportive wife, Dana, as well as their 4 children, Asa, June, Penny, and Towns, for sharing Hunter with us for 16 wonderful years. I've never met a man more dedicated to serving others than Hunter Etheridge, and I would like to recognize him for this great honor. As I've said to Hunter more than once, you made me a better chief, husband, and father because of your great example. Thank you, Hunter. We love you. We appreciate you. We miss you, and we wish you were here. Do you want to tell them the story about the gas thing, or you want me to?
Timing is everything when it comes to jokes. I had just filled up my gas tanks at Quick Trip just minutes before returning back to the police department. The chief, unknown to him that I had just gotten gas, slips that gas nozzle into my police car and sends me a picture of it. No comment, just a picture of it. And immediately in my mind, I thought to myself, how in the world could I drive off from the gas station with that nozzle sticking out? So I walked into his office and said, Chief, you have to suspend me. I'm sorry, I don't know how this happened. I expect better of myself. I don't know what I was thinking when I drove away, but you got to suspend me. And he just busted out laughing. It took me, I'm normally pretty quick, but it took me a minute. But he got me. I still owe him for that one.
He told me afterwards, he said, I can't even retaliate. He said, that one was so good, you got me. Thank you, Hunter. We appreciate you so much. Wish you could be here, but congratulations on what you're doing now, and I hope you enjoy that, but we miss you. And I
Miss
will
y'all
send-
too.
I
Thank
will
you.
send you a copy in the mail.
I'm honored. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye, Hunter.
See you, Teresa.
Take him off the mic before he says something. You never know. Okay, we have recognition for, and don't you look beautiful tonight, recognition of 10 years of service for Renata Cunningham. And you're doing the presentation, right? Do you want her to come up right now, or you, okay? Here you go. Not yet, you have to wait.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. Good evening. I am the library manager for the Villa Rica Public Library, and we are here to honor Renata, who is celebrating her 10th year with the city of Villa Rica. So I wrote a thing. So I know many of you already know Renata because she is the face of the Villa Rica Public Library. Always ready with a smile, Renata brings a warm and effervescent energy to everything she does. She is especially passionate about her teen programs, always looking for new ideas and better ways to serve Villa Rica's youth. As a result of her incredible efforts and joyful spirit, our teen programs have the highest attendance of any of the 19 West Georgia regional libraries.
Good.
Yes, absolutely. It's hard work. It is hard work. Renata is also deeply passionate about the library's mission to serve the community and seeks to reflect that sense of civic duty in all of her work. Through her example, she passes that mission along to every library patron. Villa Rica is lucky to have her leading the next generation of our residents.
Thank you.
So, I think we need to do a picture thing. Do we do a picture thing? Yes. Wait, I don't know. I hold it.
Renata, this is when you do the speech, though.
I have a microphone. Sorry.
You got some family?
Oh, yes. Come.
While they're coming up, thank you for what you do with working with the teens, too. I mean, think about it. Think about the teenage years, and you think about the impact a coach can have, so can somebody at the library that, you know, works with them closely.
Thanks, Rachel. Seriously, thank you.
Next, we also have another 10 years of service recognition, and that's Ida Hairston.
And a happy coincidence. Ida, come on up. It's your turn. I have two. I have two with 10 years this month. Okay, so this is Ida Hairston, and she's also celebrating 10 years. I just said that. Okay, I'm going to read the thing now. Ida Hairston is a deeply passionate person and an incredibly hard worker. She is always willing to help me when I need it, and she goes all of the extra miles to grow her programs and initiatives. Ida uses her bilingual skills to help patrons in the library navigate our services and feel welcome. She also teaches a fantastic Spanish class for kids right now. She has spearheaded our Hispanic Heritage Festival for many years, pouring herself into its growth. Also, Ida would want me to shamelessly plug the Hispanic Heritage Festival is September 7th at the Mill, right? Ida's never give up attitude is an inspiration to me, and Villa Rica is better for her incredible service.
Did you get it? Go down.
All right, the next, I would say they presented it to us. Would you share, Mr. Reese, would you share the Moody's rating upgrade for the city of Villa Rica?
I'm gonna pass that to the deputy city manager.
He told me he was going to do it. After he heard what I had to say, he said I couldn't do it. Surprising you.
Good evening, everyone. Diana DeSanto, Deputy City Manager. Moody's upgrades the city rating from AA2 to AA3. On August 2nd, Moody's ratings upgraded the city's issuer and revenue bond ratings to AA2 from AA3. Obligations rated AA2 are judged to be of high quality and are subject to very low credit risk. According to Moody's credit opinion, quote, the city's strong tax base growth and rising population, which have driven robust growth in property and sales tax and contributed to a material strengthening of reserves. The city's available fund balance reached 60% in fiscal year 2023, and we expect solid revenue growth and prudent management will help maintain similar reserve levels for the foreseeable future. While the city's leverage increased in fiscal year 2023 due to a new debt issuance, its long-term liabilities ratio of about 180% is expected to remain below comparably rated peers and gradually moderate moving forward. Population growth and new development activity are expected to continue to support the city's strong tax base and financial trends. Moody's stated the city's credit strengths are an ample reserve position supported by strong revenue growth and a history of conservative budgeting. Also, the city has routinely recorded balanced budgets without the use of fund balance. Moody's expects the city's general fund to run small surpluses going forward and in line with the FY 2023 surplus of $1.1 million. Results for the first 9 months of fiscal year 2024 are in line with this expectation. The FY 25 budget is not yet finalized. However, city officials do not expect any use of fund balance. Annually, rating agencies are required to monitor entities with outstanding debt, such as bonds. Moody's reviewed the financial statements and demographics before contacting manager, finance director, and deputy finance director. All participated in a conference call with a member of the Moody's analytical team. The analytical team completed their analysis and went to the rating committee for final review. The rating and rationale were delivered to the city on August 2nd. The result of this rating upgrade reflects the fiscally responsible actions taken by council over the past several years. The financial health of the city has improved year over year. Management and staff are to be commended for their efforts in achieving this rating upgrade as well. I am encouraged and excited by the news of the city's credit rating to an AA2, stated interim city manager Jeff Reese. This upgrade is the result of the hard work of city leadership, especially those who serve on our finance team. Higher credit ratings result in lower interest costs when we borrow money, and this rating upgrade demonstrates our efforts in moving the city of Villa Rica in a positive direction. And on behalf of the city leadership team, just want to thank mayor and council. It is not easy to sit in the seats that you sit and vote and make decisions that affect people for a lifetime, and we really appreciate all of the support that you continue to give our team. Thank you.
Can you stay there just a second? Would you explain, sorry, just a second, would you explain what that rating means? In other words, if the city gets that upgraded rating, how that plays out and is an advantage to us.
The biggest overall impact is in lending, right? In borrowing, because we are considered a lower risk borrower, which would result in a lower interest rate. And that can be anything from any additional bonds, TANs, tax anticipation notes, any type of GFA loans. That overall credit look would result in a lower interest rate, which is savings as we borrow to invest in the future.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that's good. Well, I relate that some to our own personal credit rating. You know that if you have good credit, you go to get a loan, you get a better rate. Maybe you do what we did once out of 3 kids and you co-sign for one of your children, then you're like, that's the end of that. But they can't get that rate without you, so sometimes that's what makes it affordable. Next, we're going to move, we need to adopt our agenda. Anything else? Good. All right, we need to adopt the agenda, but we need to make a change or two.
Need to make one change. We need to delete item B2, which is ABL-05-24. Delete that from the agenda.
Okay, so B2 under community development.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And with that, I'll move to adopt the amended agenda.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor? Any opposed?
Unanimous.
Okay, so we're going to move now to public comment. There was a sign-up sheet, so as you entered, I will begin with those names first if you were on the sign-up sheet. However, if you did not sign in and you still wish to comment or express a concern or whatever, after that, I'll reach out to each one of those people. Each individual, as you come to the podium, please state your name and address for the record. Each individual will be given 3 minutes to speak. Those addressing the mayor and council may feel free to speak openly about the matter you wish to bring to our attention. It doesn't have to be on the agenda, but we do ask that you do so in a respectful manner, refraining from any uncivil discourse. As an elected body, we do not typically engage in debate or question and answer at that time. This is your time to speak. However, if your question or concern necessitates a response from the staff level, I'll be happy for the city manager to contact you or put you in touch with a staff member that can answer your question or address your concern. As your elected officials, we do value the opportunity to hear from citizens and those who have a vested interest in our city. Greg Roberts.
I'll try to be more brief than earlier today. Ms. Mayor, thank you, Mayor, Council, and staff. We've got great elected officials and staff members here. But as I mentioned this afternoon, at the end of that 3 hour and however long it was more than 3 hours though, is that tends to be the norm for the meetings I've come to. Now, I know there was a mention of some shorter meetings, but apparently I've never been invited to those. But that's a long time, and even for the citizens, many are here tonight that were not here at the 1:30th, so they don't know what we enjoyed for 3 hours and 45 minutes or so. But even if they watched it at home or somewhere, they probably didn't stay engaged because it was just too much for too long. What I ask of the mayor and council, because I've been coming to meetings off and on for a little while, is you either have to add a date. I don't know how you're going to stay. This city is outgrowing the one date per month. And 2 things came up today. One you guys would remember, but the other was the Scott Evans proposal. Both that item and another item that was earlier, if you remember, it's sort of whoever the property owner is down 61 going back toward Carrollton, they're in kind of a bind between your next meeting on September 10th and what has to be done between now and then. I don't know how it works out. I'm just saying if there was another meeting, in 2 weeks, you would be able to bring that back. I believe the Scott Evans proposal, I don't know that it's ready to be approved for whatever you're going to approve tonight for the rezoning. I don't think it's ready, but I'm not in your place, so I can't say, because a lot of questions came up, and I don't think they had a representative here. I could be wrong, but I must have missed them. But they weren't here, and so they couldn't address it, and so I don't see how that can be approved tonight. But that's a good project. I just think there more questions came up than answers, because I came in ready to raise the flag and say, man, this is a great development. Only for a couple of the council members to raise questions that made complete sense. I don't know how it gets approved. So that's all I'm saying is we need to look at those things that are on there. And then one last thing. It has to do, one of the things on your item is that Commerce Way over near Walmart. You know what I'm talking about? And it was mentioned today. It's part of the agenda somewhere. So there's a couple of non-city of Villa Rica streets in there, and you got trucks parking all over where it's just sort of chaos in there. I don't know how that was allowed to happen, but every city has its own version of it. And then on the ramps, I know it's the elephant in the room, everybody knows, but the ramps at Liberty Road, sometimes you come through there and there's not but a truck or two. I came through there Sunday morning, headed somewhere. There were like 5 trucks lined up in a curve, and 2 of them were literally fouling the lane. It was about 7:30 a.m., and that's a catastrophe waiting to happen. And it's not new, it's ongoing. Thank you for hearing me, and I hope you have a great night.
Thank you. Pam White.
Good evening, everyone. Pamela White. I'm here on behalf of our Heritage Preservation Coalition. I'm here today to address that we've been working very hard since May, since the departure of Mr. Barber until current. I'm in charge of gaining information and distributing it out to the community as I can gain it. But here lately, I don't have any real updates to give to the public. So it's just like we at a standstill. We've had like a setback here recently that resets our community back to where it was from the beginning. And it would be before Mr. Reese's time. It would be before Stephanie Warmoth's time. This city is in such a crisis that it has put new administration from Mr. Reese and Ms. Warmoth in a position to where it's kind of hard to navigate to get us to a place to where we can see the light. Matthew, Shirley, Mr. Carter, Leslie, and Anna. I was at the earlier meeting. Y'all was very informed. And you asked a lot of questions when people came up with stuff dealing with their community. But you were it could not have been this much energy put in our community, because if it was, you all would have understood the importance of not passing such an agenda item to get us in the place that we're in. Leslie, you was on WLBB a couple of weeks ago. You stated that our community was okay. We're not okay. We are not okay. Until we are out of this fix, we're not okay. I know you stated that Mr. Reese was working with us, and Mr. Reese has been working. We've had several meetings, but I think the mess that everybody voted and got him in, it's hard. It's making it hard to come to a resolution. Hiding stuff, saying you want one route. We're trying to help you navigate to keep the city out of a huge lawsuit. I don't think no other community would try to prevent you from being out of a lawsuit. So we know if you enter in a lawsuit, it's already 40 million. It's already been made plain that the millage rate here go up double. We done worked hard to try to prevent that from happening, but ain't nobody working with us. So you're not leaving us with many options. We're gonna have to do what we gotta do. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you. Amy McCoy.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I was listening in on your earlier work session and couldn't get through all of it because it was quite long. But I do want to just mention, you had mentioned about there being 2 vacancies on the Economic Development Authority board, and you had mentioned that it's not that you were looking for anything to deal with residential, but I urge you to also consider that housing should always be at the table when you're having an economic development conversation, so that you can make sure that the type of businesses that are coming in can actually grow together with the housing stock that's needed for the city, the county, whatever it needs to be, that it works in unison. Otherwise, you're going to put yourself in jeopardy of not being able to attract the talent that that business actually needs, the type of housing that that talent is accustomed to having, or just the overall basic needs of what that industry is actually going to bring in terms of jobs to your community, which is the whole purpose of having TADs, so that you can generate enough jobs that come into the area, the building, the construction that comes into those communities would generate enough revenue, whether it's from jobs, whether it's from housing, just a number of different things. So I ask that you, when you do have that consideration, I do know a lot of commercial agents that also have residential backgrounds. They do need to have, I highly recommend that they're a part of those conversations. Just to go back to Ms. White's point, is that we have the Heritage Preservation Coalition. And so as a agent, as a representative for many of the homeowners that are in that area, I just want, again, make sure that you are fully aware, and then that the email that was sent out to you guys, I understand was already shared with you ahead of time before the meeting, aside from what I had already shared with you. I also want to encourage that we have opened the floor to be able to have these conversations, which was already missed with these homeowners previously in the tactics that were used. And so what we're asking is that there's some level of respect. We don't need to call owners to disparage anyone's business or reputation for them doing their business. I don't need to call names. All I just need to do is put it on notice. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Alita Farmer.
Good evening. My name is Alita Dobbs Farmer. I'm representing 216 Anderson Road in Villa Rica. I'm standing before you all this evening just to let you know that I truly want our city to prosper. I truly want everybody, as they say, to get along. However, it has been very difficult for me to stand before you without feeling like the city is against not only my family, but the community. I feel like we have extended now olive branch to the city, regardless of racial discrimination. I'm going to just say it like it is. Regardless of lack of resources in our area, I'm going to say that again. Regardless of lack of respect for our community, I'm going to say that again. Lack of support from our city officials, I'm going to say that again. It has been heartbreaking for me to even stand here. And what I'm asking you all to do, if you are trying to make, as some politicians would say, make Villa Rica great again, then you would do what you need to do to make sure that the citizens of Villa Rica are taken care of. So that means by making sure we have adequate water, adequate resources, proper schools. Only thing I'm hearing and seeing is that you are creating a Villa Rica that doesn't look like the citizens that live in Villa Rica. Everybody that lives here in Villa Rica has a right to be here. I have nothing, all I see is people targeting certain communities for their own personal gain of how they envision the city of Villa Rica. If you really love Villa Rica, you'll stand for what Villa Rica represents. I am VR. I graduated from Villa Rica High School. I went to Villa Rica Middle School. I went to Villa Rica Primary School. I attend church in Villa Rica. All my family is from Villa Rica. So I care about the city. So I want to see if you care about the city. Let's see what the Villa Rica politicians are going to do for this community. And not just overall for 216 Anderson Road, but I'm talking about Villa Rica as a whole.
That's everyone that I have on the list. Is there anyone else that would like to speak during public comment who did not sign in? Yes, ma'am. Name and address for the record.
Christy Chastain, 239 Berkeley Drive. Hadn't planned to comment tonight, but based on some of the comments I've been hearing so far, it sounds like there was a rather lengthy and information-filled work session today. Like a lot of citizens in Villa Rica, I work. So I was not able to tune into that. My employer does not pay me to watch meetings. So I have no idea what y'all talked about. So again, like at the last meeting, I asked, please consider moving these work sessions outside of council meeting days. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes.
Luz Morales, 106 Legacy Drive. I would like to just echo some of the comments. I heard that I joined the Planning Zoning Commission. I'm representing Ward 1. I want to do the best job I can do in that position. I'm taking the online class to make sure I'm as value-added as I can be as quickly as possible. But I think the work session needs to be when I, as a volunteer, can also watch it. I, too, work all day. I had no time to watch it today. And I would have loved to see the questions that came up following our planning and zoning, which is one of the items on the table, so that I'd be prepared for tonight's meeting, and then I'm prepared for next week's Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. So if the committee and council can consider having the work session on another day, I think it'll be very beneficial, especially to those of us volunteering to make the community better. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak during public comment time? Yes, ma'am. Come on. Excuse me.
My name is Kelly Vines. I live at 401 Charleston Place. I just want to echo a lot of what has been said already. I feel like in numbers, maybe it'll get the point across. I also work 9 to 5. I'm a single mom, so I also work when my kid gets home from daycare all evening. And I don't have time to catch up on what happened in the planning meeting. I recently purchased the property that I own back in June, and I hope that I'll have the opportunity to make some public comments after the public hearing of the Goldworth Road agenda item is also introduced. But it seems like there's already been some progress on that, some conversations that's happened during the public or during the working session earlier today. Wasn't able to attend, again, working 9 to 5. It seems like maybe something happened in that conversation that might make the remarks that I've prepared tonight for that, in response to that, maybe less relevant. But I don't know. So here I am, trying to make a comment about what's happening in the backyard of where my 3-year-old daughter is going to grow up, and I have no idea what the progress that was made on that conversation was before walking into this room. And this is going to be somebody said earlier in talking about the position y'all are in, making decisions that will affect people for a lifetime. Whatever this decision is on this rezoning will affect my daughter for her entire childhood. And I feel like I wasn't able to have as much information to make the comment that I want to make later on in this council meeting, because I wasn't able to digest that working session and attend that working session before coming into this room. And now we're looking at a decision being made that will affect my child's entire childhood, where I don't have perfect information. I don't have a chance to make my voice heard. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak during public comment?
Josh Evans, 640 Cleveland Street, Villa Rica, Georgia. Grew up here, like most. I don't like seeing what's going on around here at all, like most. I work a full-time job too. I run my own company. Been doing it for a long time. I stood up here last month and told you I'm good at what I do. Y'all didn't heed that advice. I had meetings, which ended up with a, well, let me offer you a proposition. Now today you were told, well, under certain roads we got 2 culverts collapsed. It's not that hard to figure out. You got dirt sitting in steel, corrugated, galvanized piping. It rusts. And it rusts very quickly. Those things come apart. It causes problems under roadways. You'll have a massive stormwater problem. I've been telling you you've had it. I've been up here for a year preaching it. That we have one of the worst stormwater problems of anybody out there. We don't know what to do with all this extra water. It just keeps going everywhere. Now, I stated it before. Now we got the rock going up here, and now we put mulch. You still have to have a buffer. You still have to have a strip, a filter strip, whether it's going to be rock or grass, to keep that chips from flowing over into the street and into the storm drains. It still has to be there. That's by state and federal laws. Seems like nobody here wants to go by those regulations. Everybody just wants to, well, I'm this or I'm that and I can do what I want. I don't believe that I'll argue with everybody. I don't believe that your point of taking water off of the north plant with a rerouting a line, I don't think that's a great idea. I think if we were doing what we were supposed to be doing out here, smoking manholes, doing smoke tests and all that, figuring out where this water's infiltrating from creek crossings and all that, I think we could minimize it by that without spending that kind of money. I think that would take a load off. If we started going over here, getting covers over these drains that are opening these dumpster pads, I mean, that would take a lot of it off. That would take a lot of it off. Listen, I ain't never in my life seen such go on. Over where I'm at, our quality of life over there, I got to smell dumpster juices. I got to smell a car wash that dumps off into a retention pond every day. When it's hot like it is out now, I smell it. My house, in my backyard, stinks. You got to go in the house because it stinks so bad. When is something going to be done? That's all we're asking.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak during public comment time? Yes, sir. Name and address for the record.
Michael Mansur, 101 Main Street, Villa Rica, Georgia.
Next door.
Basically, I just wanted to speak about the Citizens Academy. You had spoke about it earlier in the work session. I wanted to let everybody know that we are doing the Citizens Academy again. Starts this Thursday night. I have some applications outside, and they are free to the public to come. You learn about our department. You get to do a lot of cool things, including go to the firing range. We take you to tour the jail. We have the GBI sketch artist come and speak. Does an amazing job. You get to go do our simulator. So it's a lot of cool stuff. So please consider coming to our Citizens Police Academy. Starts Thursday night. Applications are out here. Thank you.
And it's worth doing. Anyone else for public comment? All right, we'll move on to council updates of general interest or concern from the various wards. Okay, well, I'll take your time then. For all 5 wards around the city, Let me try. We don't engage in back and forth when you're at the microphone because, right, it could go on forever. Well, what about this? Well, what about that? And then it turns into a debate and you lose control of the meeting. But I do want to, sometimes it's important to clarify a few things. There have been several of us over a period of years who have felt very uncomfortable with having the voting meeting and the work session on the same day. And for various reasons, I won't lay them all out, but I will say this. It is a disadvantage to the citizens. It's a disadvantage to those of us who are hearing some of these items presented for the first time to be voting on them within hours. I believe this is something we'll be discussing together and making a decision. It also doesn't allow any time for a news report to be made. And it is true, if you're at work, I mean, I can imagine there's a lot of times where I could not have watched a 3.5-hour meeting, even if I didn't want to watch all of it. Sometimes I'll go take the agenda and look down the item and kind of fast forward to get to the things I need to get to. Maybe I'm not interested in one thing, but I'm very interested in another. And citizens need time to do that. Thank you. I hope that we've heard you and that we will reevaluate that. Thank you to those of you that are serving on boards, too, that not only go to your own meeting, but you're trying to watch our meetings, because I can't always be at yours, and if it weren't recorded, I would never have access to them in a lot of cases. Something I wanted to mention also when it comes to economic development, it's not like we're not going to have any residential growth, but if you'll notice, we've had a lot of focus on residential growth the last years with a lack of focus on jobs and commercial development. And often a big commercial development not only gives jobs, but it also brings in a lot of taxpayer dollars, or tax dollars that takes the pressure off homeowners. Because of what they're doing there. So know this, that on a number of these boards, we have people from various walks of life. They may be in real estate. They may be in people that build and develop things. We are trying to get people on there that have a variety, might have background in finance, that have a variety of gifts that they can bring to that. And that's why we've recently made some new appointments. In the area of economic development, you will not see this yet, but I want you to know, going back to January, from the time I got in, we were under, in a sense, a previous administration. And so it was a little difficult the first few months, but immediately I followed the advice of somebody wiser than me and surrounded myself and started putting together a group of private individuals that had skills and background in economic development, or developers themselves, that could help us drive some of that here in Villa Rica, including whether it's a restaurant, and I'll just mention a few places. I can't give you the specifics on these, but we are not ignoring that the O'Charlie's is empty. We are not ignoring that there's an empty Publix now where the other one has moved, and that it matters what goes in there. And that's a variety. It's happening here. We have new shops opening. We have other people who are having a real hard time sustaining their small business during this tough economic time. And it's hard being a small business owner, requires a lot of hours. You put your neck out there, and they need the support of the local people. But sometimes the local people are stretched too, right? Paying more for eggs, fuel, whatever it might be. But do know, even though you're not seeing it yet, behind the scenes, a lot of work is being done to try to work on those things, including the jobs, because we have all these new residents. Where are they going to go to work? Are we still going to have 2/3 of our community driving to Atlanta every day? Or do we truly want them to be able to live, dine, and play here in Villa Rica? And this one, I decided as I was walking into this meeting that I would bring this up, because I started in January. It was very difficult for a number of years, but I want to thank somebody who has come in at my request to great sacrifice of himself. And that is our interim city manager, Jeff Reese. We have also been blessed with a new deputy city manager that's come on staff. I can't tell you the times we could be on the phone at all hours, over and over on different things. I knew he was the man that needed to come in here, because I knew that he was the kind that would be awake, even though it's not healthy sometimes, at 2 and 3 a.m. in the morning, still trying to solve a problem in this city. And I have seen sacrifice. Now, I've heard some comments tonight that are a little disturbing, but I will tell you this. There are a number of us, sometimes we want to brush everybody with a broad swath. All politicians are bad, or all people that live on this area of town are bad, or we will never have peace with one another if we brush one another with a broad swath. We have got to do what Martin Luther King Jr. said and judge each individual not by the color of their skin, not where they're from, not where they live, not how much money they have. We don't attack people because they're poor. We don't attack people because they're rich. We judge them by the character that they have, that individual person. And I just want you to know, we're going to mess up, we're going to screw up, we're going to disappoint you at times. Might be one of us over here, might be me. It's going to happen. I mean, we're fallen and we're sinners, doggone it. But I will tell you right now that there are a number of us that are working countless hours to the detriment of our family. And if you don't believe me, come to our homes, because they want to know when we're not doing the city business, because they see the time that we're pouring in. I believe it's worth it. We decided we were going to pivot in this city. We were going to go a different direction, and that's what we're doing. And with all our shortcomings, we have committed great time and effort to the Cleghorn, Darden, Anderson area. This man has spent countless hours trying to find ways to benefit that community, not in a way that, oh, I want it benefited so Leslie likes it. It doesn't matter. I don't live there. I want it to be good for the whole city. But just know it doesn't need to be about a personal agenda. And they're not the only ones. You went over there with your camera, documented things, took the time, hours and hours on the phone and in person with people. So I want you to know, we may not be on the same page on everything, but countless hours have been spent in everything from a town hall before you got here to hours over there with members on the phone and in person and in front yards. That doesn't mean everything's right, but I want you to know there are people who care, and they're doing their darndest to try to find something that will be agreeable and will benefit the community there. And I just hope that we will continue that communication. I believe we'll be having a town center very soon. You've had regular meetings in your office with people, but I know we're going to have to meet with more people since then. New drawings that cost thousands of dollars. We're working with engineers, trying to find ways not only to fix things, but to bring financial help that will give improvements that not for me to enjoy, for the citizens to be able to enjoy, whether it's children or adults. And we will have to work on that, on all the details, but just know it is happening, okay? And I'll be available after the meeting. Not from the audience, but we'll talk. Not from the audience. We'll talk. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am, we will meet. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. We will meet. No. We will meet. We are going to the council agenda. I will read the consent agenda now, and we will be available for further communication. We'll have a town hall. All right. The consent agenda is a single item that encompasses all things the city council would normally approve with little comment. Each of these items were discussed in the council work session, and it was the unanimous consensus of the governing body to place these on the consent agenda. If it's not unanimous, it does not go on the consent agenda. Okay, so these are the things we discussed earlier. They will all be voted on as a package in a sense. Number one, the amendment to ordinance section 2-30, terms for members of boards, commissions, and authorities. Number two, appointment of Mr. Joseph Jody Folsom and Mr. Thomas Scott Wilson to the Villa Rica Development Authority. Number three, amend the WIC lease to encourage relocation to 25 East Church Street. That will be the WIC building that currently sits at Powell Park and was originally off of Cleghorn Street. Number four, intergovernmental agreement with Carroll County for ad valorem tax collection and for extension to December 31, 2028. That's our agreement with the county to collect our taxes. Number five, with Carroll County. Number 5, engage with Major Display Inc. for 9 scoreboard replacements for the Villa Rica Civic Center and Sports Complex. Number 6, approval of temporary signage for the 19th annual Don Rich Ford Villa Rica Frontier Rodeo. Number 7, FY25 medical and ancillary insurance renewal. Number 8, approval of the FY25 insurance premium rates, that is for employees. Number 9, appointment of Marilyn Glass to the Library Advisory Board. Number 10, approval of Three Rivers Commission Area Agency on Aging contract for services fiscal year 2025. Number 11, purchase of police patrol vehicle FY 2024 from Wade Ford. Number 12, purchase of police vehicles, patrol vehicles FY 2025 from Wade Ford. 13, purchase of CID, that is for the criminal investigation department, vehicle from Wade Ford. Number 14, surplus items to sell on gov.deals. Goodness gracious. Number 15, purchase of Cowan Lake pump replacement from Sulzer Pump. Number 16, approval of FY24 budget amendments. Number 17, approval of FY24 audit and single audit services with Malden and Jenkins LLC. Number 18, renewal agreement with Placer Labs, Inc., doing business as Placer.ai. Number 19, acceptance of the Safe Streets and Road for All SS4A grant award, and to utilize the Foresight Group for professional services for the grant agreement process. Under governing body, yes, I'm sorry, we need to have a motion on the consent agenda.
I'll move to adopt the consent agenda.
Mayor,
Yes.
I think number 12 should have been number 13 should have been purchase of CID vehicle from Hardy Ford. Wasn't it Hardy Ford?
I have Wade written on mine.
It was Hardy.
It's Hardy. Okay, all right. So it should be Wade, not Hardy, or it should be Hardy,
Hardy. Right,
Hardy,
Hardy,
not
not
Wade.
Wade.
Okay,
Yeah. That one was Hardy.
got it. Okay, so we have
I'll second the motion.
a second. All in favor? Any opposed?
That is unanimous.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the governing body. We have a number of special meetings, and I'll just mention that sometime, so something doesn't have to wait a long time, you'll see that we've had a number of special called council meetings. So while our standard meetings will be a month apart, there are times where there are pressing issues, so we meet additionally for those issues so they don't have to wait an entire month, or because it's something that's an emergency or pressing. Okay, so I need a motion for approval of the work session meetings for July 9, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Unanimous.
Approval for the city council meeting minutes from July 9, 2024.
Move the acceptance.
Pardon?
Move the acceptance.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Unanimous.
Okay, number 3 is approval of minutes from the special called city council meeting of July 25th, 2024. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you. And lastly, the approval of the minutes from the special called council meeting from July 2nd, 2024.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
That is unanimous.
All right, we'll move on to item B, community development. We have item number 1, which will require a public hearing. Well, that may, Ms. Shabazz, that's yours, right? Yes. Okay, that'll be extension of rezoning for 25 and 63 Goldworth Road, Avamore, RA-06-18. back again for more.
The applicant, Avamore Georgia LLC, seeks an extension of the rezoning for Avamore from rural development to a planned development, which expires on September 12, 2024. A little bit of the background. The City Council approved the Avamore project at 55 and 63 Goldworth Road in 2018 with a total of 200 single-family units, 300 multifamily units, and live-work units, along with a host of other uses including senior housing, which includes independent living, memory care, and a minimum age restriction of 55 years. In 2020, the city increased the total number of single-family lots to no more than 250 units, and the multifamily units to a maximum of 325 units. In 2025, the City Council approved an additional 290 units of senior housing with a minimum age of 55 years. The applicant is now returning to extend their zoning approvals for another year as specified in the original and subsequent conditions placed on the conditionally approved project. Staff recommendation at this time is to table the discussion and reserve taking action to next council meeting to allow for correct updated advertising and the discussion of some of the amended conditions the applicant would like to address.
Okay, council, now, we discussed this earlier, but it requires a public hearing. I know we asked some questions earlier, but are any questions from council concerning the extension
I guess
for
the
the
question I
rezoning?
have is, why would we take it up if we're going to table it to the next meeting? Why would we do it tonight?
You can make a motion to table it.
I will make a motion that this item be tabled to the September 10th meeting.
We have a motion to table.
If I may, I mean, I only have.
I'll
a
open it for discussion. I want you to know if
Oh,
we get a
yes,
second. Okay. Motion to table?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. There you go.
Mayor, I would just think that we have some folks here tonight who may not be able to make it next month. So, I think we've done this before where even it does require a public hearing, so it doesn't hurt to kind of hear some folks, and maybe they'll get clarity, and then obviously we'll probably go through this process again next month, but.
Thank you. Yeah, it's true. People go out of their time to come, and if the item doesn't get heard, and that's the night they can come. Would you, yes, ma'am?
Well, this kind of goes right along with what some of the citizens were saying just a little bit ago. If we had the work session on a different night than the council meeting, then we wouldn't have to table it. We would have the time to be able to ask the questions. I spoke, Mr. Davis. Yes, see, I got his name right. So I spoke with Mr. Davis earlier, and he actually addressed some of the concerns that I had earlier. But I would have liked to have been able to have more of a discussion with him to better clarify those questions that I have. So again, I would just like to reiterate, if we did not have the work session on the same night as the council meeting, there would be no need to table it. I'm not comfortable making a decision tonight. If I'm pushed to make a decision, my vote will be no. I feel much more comfortable tabling this in order to get better clarification.
Thank you. All right, so, Mr. Drummond, so we're not going to vote on this, but we'd like to allow an opportunity for people, if they came tonight, to be heard on this, to have that opportunity. There's no questions for staff, so can we go ahead and at least, and sometimes we even let the applicant say something, but
Yeah, and I think we should also let them know that next Tuesday night, there's an application that will be in front of planning and zoning, and there'll be a public hearing at that meeting also. So anyone that wants to speak at that meeting, there'll be an opportunity. So that there's going to be several opportunities for people to speak regarding this application.
because it'll go to P and Z and it'll, okay, so.
It's on the calendar for, I believe, next Tuesday night, 6 o'clock here.
Okay.
For planning and zoning, so there'll be a public hearing at that time.
And of course, there'll be a presentation. So let me do this. Let me handle it as though I'm a mom with 3 kids and we have to give them baths and homework and everything else. And to come out on a weeknight at all is a great challenge. Or maybe your work schedule is such. I would like to at least allow someone that has come to say something regarding this to have that opportunity. There's no reason I can't do that, right? It's just that.
Yeah, we just have to be careful that what's considered in, when you make your decision, is what's presented in the public hearing.
Okay, so we not, because we're tabling it, we're not actually having a public hearing, but we can allow somebody to comment in case they can't come back to the next meeting and the next meeting.
What you consider when you actually vote needs to be testimony that came out in the public hearing.
Got it. Everybody understand that? It's kind of like how they instruct a jury, strike that from the record. You know, it's not that you can't listen, but when you make your decision, it will need to be based on what we hear during the hearing
Now,
from
there is a
the
motion
applicant.
on the floor right now.
There's a motion to table, there's a second, and then there was discussion. So I guess we'll need to take a vote on that, and whatever the will of the council is. So
On the
you're.
table? You can have discussion amongst yourselves.
Yeah, I just want to be clear, I'm not opposed to tabling this, but I do think it's appropriate for the public who showed here up tonight to have an opportunity to say something. And then after that, I don't have any issue tabling. So, I mean, with that being said,
So who was our first motioner?
Mr. Carter.
Would you be willing to withdraw your motion while we just hear from people and then go ahead and table?
And we may also want to just hear from the applicant to see if they're okay.
If they're okay with
doing
it,
that.
I'm okay with that. All right, then let's hear from the applicant first because they have a chance to give a presentation, and then we'll revert back. We will not actually vote on this tonight. Okay.
Did we do something with the motion?
I'm going to
you gotta
withdraw the
say
motion for now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes,
Hey,
sir.
I'm the applicant, Mike Embry. I'm the owner of Avamore GA. We bought Avamore Project last December.
It's Mr. Embry, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
EMBRY. And I understand tabling it, get it when we were here earlier, but I'm also not opposed to meeting with anybody or talking with anyone. I've been doing this for a long time. As you can see, I'm not a young man anymore, so.
Mr. Embry, can you try to speak into the mic? Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. We've been doing this a long time, so I'm more than happy to meet with anybody, give them my contact info. It doesn't have to be a public hearing. Like I said, I've been doing this a long time, and I'll meet with anyone and talk about the project and see if that helps facilitate things, because I know that y'all got a job to do, and we are coming back up a week from tonight and then September 10th.
Anything else you want to say about that?
I'll leave it up to you
Okay.
from there. So,
Thank you, sir.
And you are okay with, if people want to make comments tonight?
I have no problem at all.
Thank you.
And you've made yourself available, so if someone even wants to speak with you afterwards. Okay, thank you, sir. Is there anyone that came specifically tonight in regards to this item on the agenda, expecting that it would be handled? Okay, yes, ma'am.
I am more than happy to attend the meeting next week, and I'm sure I will connect with you after this council meeting is over. I had a couple of questions related to how the communication has been handled, and this isn't necessarily from you. This is from the city. I've received one letter saying that this is the variance is going to happen, and in the absence of communication from the city or any information for the neighbors who live in Charleston Place, behind where this is going to go in, there's a real dearth of information, and in that vacuum of a lack of information, there are a lot of rumors. I've heard that part of what is going to be voted on was a change from from a residential development PUD to industrial to accommodate some data centers. I know that that was happening. There were some questions about that with my neighbors. And just to be clear, you know, I moved into the house that I occupy in the middle of June. So it could just be that I'm a little bit not up to speed on what the neighborhood gossip is. And if the data centers were to, if that was what the application was, I had some comments prepared for that I won't go into because it seems like that's going to be discussed on a different day. I just wish that I would have gotten more information than one letter from the city telling me that this is going to be voted on tonight. There was more communication coming from the city about what was planned to happen, what the request entailed, what the zoning change was going to be, and how it was going to affect residents. So I just want to say that. I know I've been over on your website, and for me it's really difficult to find things on this website. So if there are files that are being made available on that website, I tried to sign my girl up for T-ball and ended up in the wrong place 7 different times. So, you know, if this information exists and it's just that I don't have access to it, I would appreciate the city making more of an effort in a situation that impacts so many people. And I think that's what's happening with that Claiborne district too, is that, you know, there were changes that were made where the citizens were not notified about things that were material to their lives and the way that they go about living them. And I really just feel like there's a lack of communication. I felt very solidly like I had a good handle on what the Avamore original plan was going to be. It was shared on Facebook. It was shared pretty widely. I could see lot lines. I could see where that intersected with property that I owned. All of that was information that I researched very carefully before buying the property that I did. And so to very suddenly have, you know, one letter saying that there's some kind of zoning request change, you know, less than a month after I've moved in, after I feel like I've done the research. And I feel like I'm a pretty intelligent human being. So, you know, if I can't understand this, then I know that there are lots of people in our community who are not getting that information and who are going to be coming to you with more complaints about changes to their quality of life, changes to things that materially affect them. There are a couple of things, like the first thing that I wanted to talk to y'all about wasn't actually about this zoning request. It was about sidewalks in my community. And I planned to come to a city council meeting to talk about that. And now I just feel like there's a lot of confusion that's happening. There are a lot of rumors in my neighborhood. Some of them might be to the detriment of the development of this property just because we don't have information, and those rumors may not be true. So, you know, if I'm preparing remarks to speak to the city council with incorrect information, then I feel after I've called, you know, folks who work at the city to try to get clarification, then there's something happening where there's an imbalance of communication and a disservice happening to the citizens about what decisions are being made. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Let's make sure that if you don't, let's make sure you know who your council person is. That'll be a point of contact. And also, I have been the recipient of one of those letters at times because I owned a piece of property and something was going to happen nearby. And it's not always a lot. Sometimes you have to call and talk, but use your council representative as well. I mean, you can call me too. It doesn't matter. Any of us should be willing to assist if you want more information or get you connected to the right person. Is there anyone else that wants to speak, that came tonight to speak to this item, even though it will not be voted on, and there will be two more hearings? There'll be one at Planning and Zoning next Tuesday, and then it'll come back to us in September. So there'll be 2 more hearings. Okay, thank you. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to table this item to the September 10th meeting.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor? Any opposed?
That is unanimous.
Mr. Embry, I'm sorry. Is your contact information readily available if somebody did want to ask you questions? Okay, all right. Okay, all right, thank you, sir. Also, item 2, we're making a change here too. Already, I'm sorry. Okay, item 3, VA-09-242 variance request, reduce the minimum landscape strip from 10 feet to 5 feet and encroach within the commercial medium-density C2 45-foot rear is that 45? 45 rear building setback by 16 feet. It usually requires 45, right? Reduced to 16 at 738 West Bankhead Highway. And this also requires a public hearing. Make sure people know where this building is. That way they can see it in their head. Although you've got a great PowerPoint too, don't you? Some visuals. Okay. Thank you,
Mayor
Mr.
and
Daniel.
Council. Thank you. So the first item that we have today, I'm Sean Daniels. I'm the city planner. Nice to meet everybody.
And that's a good help. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Start
Thank you,
making
Ms.
y'all do that when you come up. That was a good point. All right.
So this item, VA-09-24, is relations to 738 West Bankhead Highway, and that is in between CVS, that's right off of Highway 78, and it's in between our new Carroll County Fire Department that's actually still being built. That's just about getting finished up. So right now, the applicant, Waffle House INC Incorporated, is actually requesting 2 variances. The first one is to reduce the exterior landscaping strip and a reduction of the rear setback. Now, I also want to point out to everybody that this is all have to do with a new development that is being proposed right now. It's actually a occupant on the parcel right now. It's actually Hometown Mart, but this is for a future development. I just want to go ahead and let everybody know that. But the parcel is 0.60 acres and is zoned commercial medium density C2. So the existing conditions, like I stated earlier, Hometown Auto Mart is actually there right now. They've been there since 2000. They actually have a primary building. It's 1,296 square feet. They also have 2 additional accessory buildings. There's one that is 12 by 12 feet. That's a utility shed, and there's also a 18 by 30 foot prefab metal shed there. Now the proposed development is a Walmart, and this particular proposed development, Waffle House. There's a Waffle House. Thinking of Walmart. I'm sorry.
Walmart, okay.
They're taking on a new look.
Yeah, smaller look. Very smaller. So, Waffle House restaurant, that's the proposed development. The applicant is saying that it's going to be approximately 2,000 square feet. And on that parcel, they're actually going to have a retention or a detention pond there, as well as 30 parking spaces. The applicant also said that they will have a dumpster enclosure area that's going to be on the southwest part of the parcel. And I do want to let everybody know that we do have a existing Waffle House that is less than a mile. Once you go up to 61, passing over I-20, before you get to Walmart, there is a existing Waffle House there. So the first variance request is pertaining to section 7.05, subsection 6, which is the parking and landscaping ordinance. And that states that all parking areas adjacent to other developed parcels will need a minimum planting area width of 10 feet. It's basically a landscaping strip. I know that we've all been to a drive-through. There's actually like a sidewalk in the median area. That's where the landscaping strip usually is. And the applicant is actually proposing to reduce that minimum planted area to 5 feet. And they're actually stating that since that parcel is a 0.6 size acre parcel, that's actually significantly less than the required C2 parcels, which any new development that's built on a C2 parcel has to be at least 2.5 acres. So this is about a fraction of the size, but it's a legally non-conforming parcel because, as you know, in 2020, we actually did a statewide rezoning effort. So the applicant is trying to see if they can actually maximize that parcel itself. As you can see, the outlined area is blue, and that's to represent the required 10-foot landscaping buffer. And the applicant is actually proposing to actually have reduce that to 5 feet, which is highlighted in that red area. And the reason is, as you can see on that bottom right-hand corner, almost to the south of the parcel, there's actually a diagonal rectangle area. That's actually the dumpster enclosure. So it's kind of encroaching into that blue area, as well as on the west side of that parcel. Those 18 and 19 parking spaces are also being encroached inside that required 10-foot area. So based off of this variance request, which is the landscape buffer reduction from 10 to 5 feet, staff does look to approve this variance request. The reason is because, like I stated earlier, it's a non-conforming parcel. It's a fraction of the size of what a new development C2 parcel actually be developed on. And staff just sees that they're just trying to maximize that parcel as the best of their ability, as well as we've looked, and it does not have any adverse effects to the subject parcel or the adjacent parcels, as well as the surrounding area. Now, the second request is in relation to section 4.04 lot standards. And this is in relation to the rear building setback. As you can see on this site plan that the applicant provided to us, it's actually encroaching that blue line that's right there, the 75-foot rear setback. That's the required setback for any C2 parcel. So as you all can see, that building area where that box is, that's towards the right, that's actually where the proposed building will actually be built. So as you can see, that little box with those little swinging door area, that is their cooler area. So it's actually being within that rear setback area. So the applicant was proposing to encroach in that 45 feet area and then actually encroach it 16 feet and have a new proposed rear setback to 29 feet. Based off of this as well, staff does look to approve this as basically because it is a 0.6 acre parcel. It's non-conforming. It's very, very small, and we don't see any adverse effects environmentally or to any of the adjacent parcels or the subject parcel. Thank you.
Council, any questions for staff? Yes.
Sean, it seems like we're trying to cram a lot into a teeny tiny space. I mean, I hate to sit here and be the one who's constantly talking about traffic tonight, because that's what I discussed earlier. But again, my concerns in this area, we're cramming all of this into one little space with 30 parking spots, and traffic right there is terrible. I don't necessarily have a question, but I mean, I do have concerns about approving this variance in this particular location and cramming this much into such a small space.
Any other questions from council? Do we have an applicant here? Okay. Would you come on up, introduce yourself, and we'll have the opportunity to ask you questions as well.
All right, I'm Robert Alley. I'm a real estate director with Waukesha.
Robert
Alley.
Alley.
I have our engineer, Juan Del Rio, with Continue.
Good evening, Juan Del Rio. Yeah, oh, there we go.
Oh,
It needs
that's
to be
much
pushed.
better.
All right, here we go. I'm Juan Del Rio with the Continue Group Civil Engineer. I reside at 4163 Glen Meadow, Peachtree Corners, Georgia.
This parcel is actually our standard size. So it's not that it's small, but when you have a 50-foot front setback and a 45-foot rear setback and you're on a site that size, it does make it tight. So we're here to answer any questions. We look forward to being here.
wanted to see if I could get back to the graph. Oh, there it is, the drawing. Yes, so in regards to the councilman questioning about the property and traffic, the beauty of the Waffle House restaurant is that it's a small enough footprint to where it can, as Robert just mentioned, it can fit in rather complicated sites. This is a grandfather parcel, and whomever comes to build on this tract of land is going to have a hard time putting a bigger building. Just if you guys consider the 50-foot building front setback, that dashed line that's crossing parking spaces 24 and 3, and the 45-foot rear building setback on a parcelized tract of land, you're left with very little. Oh, thank you. This is great. Awesome. So this is the 45-foot building rear setback line, and then this is the 50-foot. So you're truly left with very little space to put any type of structure, making this tract of land, that being the hardship of a platted lot. So the request for the setback reduction mainly concerns this parking space number, the buffer reduction, yes. This parking space number 19, it's that little stretch right there that is encroaching into the 10-foot setback, and then this parking space number 18. So it's not like we're asking for the entire site to encroach into the 10-foot buffer, landscape buffer. It's just those two parking spaces that are slightly encroaching at, as you can see, we comply with that requirement everywhere else. And then for the building itself, it's mainly, as it was mentioned, the cooler that extends slightly past the 45-foot building setback. So it's not, yes, we're asking for reductions, but it's not like we're asking for a reduction to happen throughout the entire setback, if that helps any. I just wanted to specify on that side of things.
Yeah. And we've brought our landscape plan that shows that even with the reduction in the landscape buffer, we're still able to reach, all the landscaping requirements.
Which are more than they used to be.
Yes.
We require more greenery around buildings. I think part of the reason for staff recommending, when we're talking about variances, it's because there's some sort of hardship. There's something that makes it hard to make it, not develop it. Well, yeah, develop it. It's very limited what could go on there. Right now, what we have is a used car dealership. You're proposing a Waffle House. I'm not going to say that traffic is a legitimate argument anywhere. Worse in Atlanta, worse where you are. But nonetheless, we get upset if there's 10 cars, okay? But nonetheless, that's a busy area. It's right off 20, and there's a lot of things there. Is there what does the entrance exit look like?
So
there.
It is going to be full access, right in, right out, and then left turn. And DOT has already agreed upon the access. We have already submitted and in works with
Okay,
DOT.
so you've dealt with the Georgia Department of Transportation.
That is correct.
All right, and describe to me the entrance exit again?
So it's
Or to
gonna-
us?
It's a right in, right out.
Okay.
Based on the existing use of the driveway. So we're just gonna improve the existing driveway to the property.
Okay.
But we're not asking for additional movements into the property.
I'm sorry, I think, Mayor, so you said right in, right out, or did you say there's gonna be a left turn? I thought you said both.
It will be full access.
A full
based on the
access.
existing, yes. So, it's
So
just
not
gonna
right
be
in, right
improved.
out, right?
From the side, it's gonna be full access. Sorry, if I
Okay.
say right in, right
Okay.
out, that was my mistake.
Okay.
Yeah, it is full access.
Oh, yes. Councilman Moorman?
With all due respect, you mentioned that this is the typical size for your buildings, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so with all due respect, if this is the typical size, you wouldn't come to us needing a variance.
Because of the heavy setback requirements, That's the only reason. Usually you find like rear setbacks being more like 15, 20 foot.
Well, I mean, I'm referring even just to the landscape buffer of 10 feet versus 5 feet. I mean, if this is the size that you, as an engineer, are used to constructing businesses with, then you shouldn't need the buffer. You should be able to engineer that to fit into the space with the 10-foot buffer.
I'm not trying to answer for you, but I think the issue is the size of the lot. Am I understanding you correctly?
But he's saying that this is the size typically of his lots.
So typically a lot,
0.6 acres?
this is 0.6. A typical lot in C2 with these requirements is 2.5 acres. So that is pushing a lot of these hardships.
But this lot in particular, the size of this lot, I'm not talking about the city's ordinance. I'm talking about the size of this lot. You are able to make your business fit into this size lot,
Yes.
correct?
That is correct. I mean, if it fits, it works really nice.
Well, I'm trying to understand where the hardship is, because it sounds to me like this is not a variance that you need because you're used to this size lot anyways.
Well, typically for the safety of our customers and to keep them from parking in other places, we typically have 30 parking spots because Saturday and Sunday morning we'll have 10 to 12 employees working. So that would keep them off the CVS lot or doing anything else. And really, when you look at the parking lot, it's a foot. It's 1 foot. The dumpster enclosure, we angled it like that to enable the dump truck to pull in, reverse out, and pull straight onto the highway.
Well, and my other concern is the full access into this parking lot as well. I mean, again, the traffic in that particular area is already terrible. And so you're gonna have 30 spots on a Saturday. As you just said, you're gonna have half of your lot filled up with employees. Well, what happens when your lot gets filled up? You're gonna have traffic backing up, and it's gonna be a nightmare.
Well, that's why we have the turnaround
You have what turnaround?
for people to turn around. That's why our parking lot is an L, a backwards L.
So when they're turning left into your business and can't find anywhere to park and the traffic's backing up, then what?
I mean,
They'll go all the way down. They will put all the way down here, I guess, looking for parking, and then just back into the dumpster area and then pull facing forward. So there is plenty of room there for a turnaround for a car.
So there are really two issues for me here. Again, if this is typically a space that you're used to dealing with building your building, then you shouldn't need this variance. And again, number two, my concern is the traffic and how in the world people are going to get in and out. I know you said you were not in Villa Rica. You did not live in Villa Rica. And you?
I live in Marietta.
Okay. So neither one of you have seen this traffic that I'm referring to right now. And it is a nightmare.
I've been on the site multiple times. I mean, I understand your concerns, and that's why we're working with the Georgia Department of Transportation.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I'm fully understanding this. So if I were to go over to the Waffle House that's off of exit 26, the Mirror Lake exit, Liberty Road exit, is that 0.6 of an acre?
Depending on detention, I mean, it could be smaller, but sometimes depending on topography, everything, I mean, you have to get the water to flow into the pond, so there's a lot of stuff that goes into the development. And really, you only have this box to put a building in. So working within the requirements, that's what we're given, and our building, doesn't fit in there. And if our building doesn't fit, you're going to be hard pressed to find any building that's going to fit in that box. Hence the variances.
So does it have a detention pond?
Yes.
Do the other ones have that? The other ones in town? Maybe built prior? Are they adding something that the others don't have? I'm trying to visualize it. I don't. Yeah, because I don't think so. Not that. Yeah, okay. So you do have to add something in that the others don't have?
Yes, it's.
Even if it, okay.
It's right here in
All
this
right.
area. So this whole area up here is taken by the detention pond.
Okay. All right, so I'm not in a debate, I'm just presenting a different view. I turn into things with traffic all the time. I mean, CVS, Chick-fil-A, you know, and so to me, that's not a real big issue because, I don't know, I do it all the time. And there are times, well, if it's really bad, I'll avoid, you know, turning someplace and go up further. We have the problem over on Mirror Lake with drivers that will sit there and sit there and sit there. But it tends to be a common thing along a lot of our roads if there's a number of curve cuts. And I'm not of the opinion that we should just take anything, but I'll tell you what, there's things that are a lot better than used car lots within city limits, and I'm happy that at least that might be moving on. That's not to say you're the perfect business or not perfect business, but I don't see traffic as, you know, we do this. Yes, Councilman McCoy.
Okay, first off, I have two schools of thought. I agree with Ms. Warmoth about the traffic because I also see, which I'm looking at, I flipped to the one at Mirror Lake by a minute ago to see if that one had a detention pond. So I'm not looking at the site plan, but the way that goes, and Stephanie could, people who live, Matthew, Stephanie, who live closer to that side might be able to correct me, is that that's close, like, would people be cutting through, will people get confused and think they're going to be able to cut through that lot? Because, you know, you got CVS on one end, you've got Chick-fil-A, right, I know there's a lot between, but you've got Chick-fil-A right behind you. I was wondering, like, to me, looking at it from an aerial point of view, it looks like some people might get mistaken and think, oh, I can cut through that lot sometimes.
Historically, you haven't been able to cut through as far as I know. So, you know.
Because you're not connecting, you're not connecting even to CVS, according to the site plan, you're not even connecting to CVS.
Here's what I would say in relation to traffic.
Mhm.
It's a C2 zone site, so any business there, you know, that's going to generate revenue for the city, you would hope that it would generate traffic. And so it's a commercial site. It's going to generate traffic, you know.
But you say you've been working with GDOT. What have they said about the left turn?
They're giving us full access.
Okay. Okay. Is there any way, like, I agree with my other school of thought is what you said, that a business is coming, and like the mayor said, a Waffle House is a lot better than a used car lot. And I'm not against any kind of economic development, but the traffic is a concern. Is there a way we could compromise and there be a right turn only?
That's, yes, there is, but, you know, I don't know. Ultimately, that will be a decision for our board. You know, we would much prefer to have full access.
Okay.
And I don't have a problem taking that to the board, but, you know, that's ultimately, you know, that access is a driver of the business. So,
Councilman Montahan?
So I think, you know, when you're looking at these things, I mean, we have to kind of remember what hats we're wearing at the particular time. So this has already been zoned C2. If this were up for rezoning, then I think we can kind of sit here and do an analysis of the traffic and the use. But what they're asking for and the request that they're asking for don't necessarily have to do with traffic and parking. I mean, it does have to do with parking. I mean, to the extent there's two spaces. So, I mean, as a matter of right, they could, I'm not saying they will, but they could build a smaller store, and they could build it within the setbacks and the footprint, and then they would never have to come before us, and then they don't have to accommodate whether they're doing a ride in or ride out or anything like that. So in theory, they have, as a matter of right, per the zoning, to do what they would like to do. They're just encountering setback issues, which create this hardship because it's a small lot. So I don't want to get into the weeds about traffic because we're not wearing our zoning hat right now. We're wearing our special exception variance hat, and I don't think it's fair to hold them to that fire. But I mean, to the extent that if they're willing to address concerns and maybe a right-in, right-out or some other ameliorating factors, I mean, that'd be fine. But I don't want to, that's not what they're here for today. And and I'm just being careful to say, if they could make two decisions when they walk out of here today. They could say, well, I'm just going to build a micro Waffle House, and it'd be much smaller, and I'm still going to get a Waffle House, and I'm still going to get whatever traffic concerns. Or they could walk out of here and say, maybe we'll come back and try to do this right-in, right-out idea or some other issue that they talk to GDOT. But, so I don't, I myself, the requests appear to be reasonable, based upon the plat and the zoning conditions, and that it's essentially a legally non-conforming lot, grandfathered in, essentially is what it is. So, but, if the rest of the council feel like we have to take up traffic issues, and I guess I'm not going to necessarily oppose those notions, but I don't see any reason to deny this.
So if somebody came in with I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Are you finished?
Sorry, yes, ma'am.
So if somebody came in with another business that also generated people, but they had a smaller building,
Yeah.
they could still do it, right? They could have
Right.
people. And what I'm wondering is, are we going to make the other businesses around there, which we really can't do, are we going to make the place across the street have a left in, left out, or right in, right out? I mean, at what point are we going to pick and choose who gets that and who doesn't? That's my concern, is that we can make it really difficult for businesses to operate as well. I think it also is a responsibility of the city, including when we deal with GDOT with roads, is trying to do things that will make our traffic flow better, which is why we're adding some additional roads and access over off of Commerce by Chick-fil-A, where you can get out several different ways. And the one road is there, you can access 10 things with getting on an access road and never having to come out the main road. Those are really good things to do as we move forward.
I can tell you that if we could get access out of the rear to connect to Chick-fil-A or somebody else, we would, if that's available, we would do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I have no idea. They just expanded, right? They just expanded because they needed more space because everybody loves Christian chicken or something.
I do.
With CVS, you already, it's very difficult to come out of there and turn left. And then if you've got the other ones, you've got that. But, and then you look over on Dollar Tree side, they've just got one way you can go out. So, and that's going that way. So over on this side, you've got very difficult entering into 78 going that way because of the traffic coming from Temple area.
If you're at Dollar Tree, you want to go out probably on Industrial. You probably want to exit out that way, unless you're coming out and going right. You would go out the other exit. If I come from Chick-fil-A, Racetrack, I don't even attempt to get out Commerce Street to make a right unless I'm making a right turn there. Otherwise, you have to try to get out where everybody's backing up the light. I go to the other exit of CVS and I get out there. And I know GDOT's made it a little bit more difficult for us on 61 over there with some of the things they put in, right? We've gotten complaints left and right. And maybe in the end it avoids accidents. I don't know. I'm not a traffic engineer. Yes.
And Mayor, this is something that I just actually noticed this week, but if you go a little further down the road towards Temple, where the new townhomes come in on at Hines Drive is that private drive, and they've actually, I guess GDOT made them put something in the middle of the median to force a right in, right out there. So, I mean, I guess my point is if GDOT has already kind of blessed their access plan here, and they're not making them put in a right in, right out, I don't know if, again, that just kind of gets, for me, it's just problematic for us to kind of go into all that. So.
Yes.
So I understand Matt's point. and he's right. I mean, if you were to stay, the only reason that you're here before us is for the variance. Here's what I would like to point out. I don't know if it was last meeting or the meeting before, but the fire station is going right next door. We just approved for a road back behind the fire station. I would be much more inclined to accept this if somehow you could tie into the road that's going to be back behind where your property is. And because you mentioned that you guys would be willing to potentially sacrifice a few parking spaces in order to do that. And that would just give people another access to get out. I mean, look, to get a little personal, I have a 16-year-old daughter, and I don't want her pulling out of Waffle House to turn left right there to go to her school. And I'm not saying all of this because of my daughter. I'm just using that as an example. I would hate to see a teenager pulling left out of there and something terrible happening. So I would feel more comfortable with having an additional exit where people would have a different or another option in order to get in and out.
So that's not up to us, though. That's
Understood.
That's up to whoever owns that property, whether or not, one, if they would sell it to us, which they may not, or if they'll grant us an easement, and then at that point, it's how much money. It has to be economically feasible, and this is a small site, zone C2, and you're going to run into these problems no matter who's there, whether it's a Waffle House or somebody else. We've got firefighters next door. We're open 24 hours. We'd love for them to come meet with us. We're just a business based in Atlanta that would like to build on the site and generate revenue for the city.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any more questions for the applicant? All right. So we've had questions of staff. We've had questions for the applicant. We're going to go ahead and have the public hearing. Y'all probably will be glad to sit down for a few minutes. And anyone that would like to speak for or against this item, this is your time to do that.
I guess they answered. Well, she answered part of my question I had for it. Why can't they tie into the road that's going to be behind the new fire station? I guess it's going to tie back in somehow to racetrack area, I guess. Is that what they're saying? Why that couldn't tie in, I guess I'm with Matthew on that. If they bought the extra lot, then we wouldn't be in this predicament at all, with the variance and all that stuff. Do I like the idea of the Waffle House going there? I think we already have one up right above I-20. I don't see the reason for another one. It's going to cause traffic backups. We do have school kids that travel that road every day. It's already backed up during certain times, especially if you're coming from Temple, trying to get through on 78 and the light turns red. It takes forever for it to change. It's backed up sometimes above Rocky Branch where the school is. I have seen it backed up above Bellevue, above Castle Sol. I've seen it backed up that far. I happen to live on a street that is right next to it, and I'm not happy about having to wait to get into my street to get into my driveway. I don't like that. I already have to wait long enough on game nights to get on my street into my driveway.
I know a little bit about that.
I don't want to have to wait because of their traffic to get to my house. I live here. They don't. Waffle House don't live here. I do. I pay taxes on my land. I expect to be able to get to my house. Sometimes y'all know I drag a trailer behind me. I have issues turning. So when there's traffic backed up, I can't just stop wherever to be able to stop and get into my road because it's so short of a turn to get in there already. How's that going to work out if you got the fire department trying to get out on 78 and the traffic's backed up. Again, you know, people they don't really care. They're not going to move for them. So then what do? I just see a lot of traffic issues with this idea. If they bought the lot behind them and turned it and went out through the racetrack gas station like Ms. Wormuth was saying, hey, more power to you. Buy that lot and do it. You ain't got to come on 78. More power to you. But as far as the traffic that goes there now, it's horrible. And then on game nights, y'all already know how that traffic is. We don't have to tell you. And to add to it with putting another business there, no way. That ain't going to make no sense.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak for or against this item?
I'm Peg Taylor. Do I have to say my address? 2120 Osprey Cove, Villa Rica. So I don't really go to Waffle House, but I think, you know, if a business wants to occupy whatever space they want to occupy and that's legal, then I think a business should be able to do that, whether or not there's traffic issues or not. That's up to Waffle House to figure out if they want to be there, and it sounds like they want to be there. So I just think y'all should approve it.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak for or against this item?
Ms. Morales, 106 Legacy Drive. I have a question, and I know it's not back and forth, so I don't know who can answer it, but I'd rather a discussion to understand the purpose of the setback ordinance on a C2 lot and the 10-foot buffer so that the public knows what the purposes of those two are, so that we can properly comment on what they're trying to create a variance for. I don't know who answers that.
There'll be an opportunity for staff to come back up or an applicant to answer a question. That would be a staff question, of course. Anyone else that would like to speak for or against this item? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Any further questions for staff or applicant? I think staff could, you know, try to answer that question, but additional questions for staff?
No, I just had a comment. We never have anybody in public hearing speak for something. I just wanted to make that comment. Nobody ever speaks for it, so.
You'd be surprised. Okay, so this is open for any more questions for Mr. Daniels, but also if you want to go to address at all something that was brought up by, you know, anybody that spoke during public comment, if you want to address that, that's fine.
Yes.
The applicant is open to do that if you feel like you can add clarification, but it was, this specific one had to do with our requirements.
Mm-hmm. So the reason for that rear setback area and also for the landscaping strip, it's just for the city, we don't want everything so condensed into each other. You know, this isn't like a New York type of thing. So like the building setback is just so when that C2 parcel is actually there, nobody's actually impeding or encroaching in there. You know, God forbid somebody puts a building right off of, you know, a decel lane or something like that. So it's just a little bit more room. And now for the landscaping strip, that is also good for like drainage and things like that. It does help for, let's say we do get a heavy rain. You know, Waffle House does have 30 parking spaces. It's a lot of impervious areas is over there. So with more rain and things like that, it's also good to have a lot of greenery, a lot of shade, a lot of areas. So then we can have good, you know, water runoff in that area. So.
Thank you.
Is that why they have the collection ponds for the runoff on their impervious area?
Yes, sir. Also. Mm-hmm.
And Sean, you over here. you did mention this afternoon that normally in that zoning area the lot's 2.5 acres.
Yes. Yes, sir.
So these setbacks and are normally on a 2.5 acre lot, not a 0.6 acre lot. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. This is just a fraction of what a normal new development we building on a C2 parcel.
So is it staff's opinion that because this lot's so small, those setbacks cause a hardship on this lot.
Exactly.
Sean, to that question. So, if they downzone to a C1, could they still be able to do a restaurant use?
No, because a C1, the minimum lot size is 1 acre, so they're kind of in a rock and a hard place either
Right.
or. It's
So they
just
can't
undersized.
rezone because then they will lose their grandfather status.
Exactly.
All right. And so, and I think, back in the spring, we had some similar challenges with some of our zoning, and I know we had talked about like doing a shopping center ordinance and all that. And so, and I think that maybe some of this kind of stuff is the reasons why we need to revisit the ordinances. I guess that was my question, because C1 would the setbacks be less severe?
Yes, I do believe there will be, instead of 45, off the top of my head, there will be 35. So,
Okay. They'll still need some
still need
variance.
it, especially
Okay.
for that southern east parcel or area of the parcel where that dumpster is.
What would the front setback be on a C1?
The front setback for C2, the front setback is 35. Let me see.
It was 50, I think, on the front.
Let me see.
Does that have anything to do with the fact that it's on a state road? That setback? Okay.
Yes. Since Highway 78 is a arterial road, then the
That's
setbacks
right.
would be more.
That's right.
Increased.
It's based upon the frontage, not on the zoning.
Yes,
setbacks
so
are.
a local road will be 35. This is a arterial road, so that's 45 regardless if it is
Okay.
a C2 or C1.
Okay. All right.
Remember, we ran into some of that when they even expanded at the elementary school. The buildings were built really close to the road, and they had to get a variance from us in order to add an addition that sat at the same place that the rest of the building did. The gymnasium or whatever, because that's the way everything was built back then.
Sean, can I ask you a question for clarification?
Yes, sir.
So if an applicant came to the city and wanted to open a used car lot there, would that zoning permit that?
It is actually grandfathered in for that used car lot, but they do have to meet all of C2 standards, which would be very, very hard. And then also, let's say Hometown Mart actually leaves, but if it passes 12 months, then that grandfather clause would be lifted.
But if someone came and made application for a used car lot and they stayed within those buffers and setbacks, then they would be grandfathered in.
Yes, sir.
Means even if it changed hands, they're grandfathered in. I don't know that I realize that for sure.
It's
Okay.
a timetable, though. It's 12 months.
The 12 months.
Yeah. You have to have a business license or something, right?
Yes, sir. Exactly right.
We have a public hearing. We don't really do questions. However, if people come up and speak during the public hearing, you'll answer afterwards. The staff or the applicant can come back up and address it, and so that's what we did previously, is we had you up, we've had the applicant up to try to clarify, not just for us, but to answer a question that was brought up during the public hearing. Is there any more questions from, anything else from the council? Okay, if there's none, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay.
Into the mic. Into the mic. There you go.
I was looking at my co-pilot over there, Mr. Carter. I thought he was going to make the motion, but it looks like he's going to meet me. I'm going to be doing it. All right. So, I just preface this with it's not that I don't disagree with the traffic concerns. Unfortunately, that's not what the applicant's here for. They're not here for a zoning. And so with that being said, they're here for a variance request that has to do with landscaping and setbacks, not a zoning. And if this was a zoning, then we could, I think, more fairly consider concerns about traffic or use and all the other things. With that being said, I'll make the first motion to approve the request to reduce the minimum landscape strip from 10 feet to 5 feet by Waffle House Inc.
Second.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't catch what you said, and I was looking that there was also
That
a
was
second
the
motion,
second
so we're
one.
just looking at the
You want me to
first
make-
one.
I can do both, or whatever's the
We'll
most.
do 'em one at a time.
Okay,
One
we'll
at a
do them
time.
one at a time. All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed?
Pass 4-1.
All right, I'll entertain a motion for the second variance request.
I move to approve the request to reduce the 45-foot rear building setback by 16 feet by Waffle House Incorporated.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Any opposed?
Passes 4-1.
All right, thank you. All right, item 3, RA-03-34, rezoning 2 parcels from industrial low density, LI, to commercial medium density, C2, for property at 615 Industrial Boulevard. This also has a public hearing.
It's the second, the first one. It's the copy. Yeah. All right. Our second item is by Scott Evans, and they are actually looking to rezone 2 parcels within our city. The first parcel is a 5.33 acre parcel, and the second parcel is a 2.96 lot. Both these parcels are actually right off of Highway 101, and they are both currently zoned low density I-1, or industrial low density I-1, excuse me. And the applicant is proposing to actually change those 2 zonings to commercial medium density C2.
I was just going to mention, Mr. Downs, you don't have to do the entire presentation that you did earlier, as long as you still hit the major points. This is who wants to do business here, why y'all recommend or don't recommend. You know what I'm saying? That way you don't have to do all of that again.
Okay. So for rezonings, I'll go a little bit quick with this one. So for rezonings, it does matter about the surrounding areas. So the subject parcels are actually in that red square there. To the north of that pink area right there are commercial C1 parcels, and then all those, we actually do have a Dollar General as well as the Villa Rica Gymnastics Gym that's actually over there. And then towards the east area, all that yellow that's over there are actually all residential R2 lots, and those lots are actually right off of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Street. So these particular parcels are actually abutting residential areas, particularly for 3rd Street, right off of 3rd Street. Now to the south, you do have light gray area colors, and the light gray area color is representing low in density, so that's industrial low density parcels, and then also the darker color is I2, which is medium industrial medium density parcels. Now, for rezonings, it is significant to actually point out the future land map. Now you can see right there inside that pink area, these subject parcels are actually within a suburban village, and you all ask yourselves what a suburban village is. Well, these are actually characterized as a commercial development around an intersection or a predominant road, which includes immediate surroundings around residential areas, which are suburban in nature. So like I stated earlier, all that yellow right there are all heavy residential areas, and then some of that pink as well. So these parcels are actually not out of character with our comprehensive plan. These actually go right incongruent with that. as you can see towards the, I'll say, north end, that what's that, northwest area, that green area is actually our Gold Dust Park as well. Now, site conditions. Now, there are some existing structures that's actually on that parcel. As you can see in that picture right there, that's where the principal structure is. That's actually used to be the old 101 Sales and Supply building. That's actually a 10,050 square foot building. It's vacant right now, and actually on that parcel, or on those two parcels, there actually an accessory structure there as well. That's highlighted in that box, and I actually zoned it in so the public can actually see what exactly is over there. It's not much of a building. It's just a roof that's supported on wooden beams. Now, the proposed development, the applicant is actually trying to conduct a lot merger, so combine both these parcels and make one parcel, and that will be a 8.29 total acre lot. The applicant is actually proposing to expand on that 101 building and not demolish it. They actually want to expand it in a way of adding a exterior construction project, like adding ramps, garage bay doors, and facade changes, as well as interior changes. Now, I do believe the council actually had some questions about how do trucks actually conduct deliveries. I did go back and look at our old P&D meeting, and one of our council or commissioners actually did state something, had a similar issue, and the applicant did answer, and he said that for any major trucks, 18-wheelers, they're actually going on that parcel. They're actually going to have a section on that lot for these trucks to actually unload and load. So they will not be taking up space on Highway 101. As you know, it's already a lot of traffic on that area at times. So the construction time is predicted to take about 6 months. It'll be a single phase construction. So as soon as they, leave here, then they can go ahead and decide what they want to do. Now, the proposed development, the applicant actually provided with some elevations for us. The south elevation, as you can see, it is going to be extension. The top elevation there, they are going to add 10 bay doors as well as a service area. On the east elevation, they're actually going to install a down ramp with some more bay doors, some more glass garage bay doors. And on the north elevation, they're going to install a down ramp. And then the west elevation, which is the front facade area, they're going to have a service area equipped with glass garage bay doors. Now, stated earlier by our city manager, he did wanted to see if we couldn't add some conditions on to this applicant's proposal. And based off of what the city council did say in our work session, we did want to see if we couldn't add something in relations to the applicant must provide a detailed site plan and review provided for us as in the staff and for the council to review, as well as a traffic study that must be provided for also staff and for council to review as well. And this application actually was seen in front of the Planning Commission last month, and it was actually voted unanimously 4-0 for approval. And staff is actually looking to approve it as well, based off of 3 criteria: is the density comparison, the zoning areas, and the comprehensive plan alignment. Now, this proposal is actually a lighter dense, or it's a lighter dense proposal than what is already there. There are some residential areas that's towards the east, so I'm pretty sure that they'll be a little more relieved once a commercial area is actually there on their adjacent side than a heavy industrial I-1 parcel that or use that could be there. There are some like commercial parcels that are actually to the north, so it's not really required spot zoning. It's actually like a ascending to our industrial park, if you will. And lastly, it does is congruent with our comprehensive plan and being inside that suburban area's character area.
Transitional zone.
Yes, sir.
That's the word you're looking for.
Thank you. Yes,
I just wanted to be sure because I couldn't remember from earlier. I think it's important to note that you said it's fits within our comprehensive plan. I did it again. I shut it off so you don't hear ancillary noise while you're presenting. That it fits within our comprehensive, and I think it's important for citizens to know that when we redo comprehensive plans every 5 years, that is something that citizens can participate in. And that what it means is, what is our future land use? We make decisions on how we're going to proceed to the future. What do we want? And citizens can participate in that. And that's what that comprehensive plan is. That's why there's an industrial area. So I'll be a lot briefer than I was earlier. Would you just real quick go to the one with the buffers that shows the residential behind, and just mention why this is important about how we've done our zoning. What would have been allowed maybe years ago, and maybe we let a big business come in with no buffer to residential, or maybe just a fence and a matter of feet with slats through it. You'll notice the yellow there is residential, so one of the red flags for me was, what is going to be the buffer between a commercial C2, C1, but it goes all the way up to, I believe, a C4 for residential, which then requires 75 feet, and it specifies plantings or walls or fencing that has to go in between as well. So that was really important. That didn't used to exist. Those already pre-existing have some protection from what comes in, and yet that area fits right within the future land plan. Any questions from council for staff?
Not a question, but Sean,
Concern.
I appreciate you putting in those recommendations after the concerns that were expressed.
I appreciate you all's insight. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
It helps to knock it around and get more heads together. If there's no more questions for staff, is there an applicant here? Applicant is here. Let us know your name and, if you're the engineer, architect, or the part you play with the business.
Good evening. My name is Zach Bell, Bell and Associates Architect. I'm here as the owner's representative to answer any questions you may have on the development. And like I said, it's an item 1 to C2. It's a less intrusive use of the land. In terms of buffers, the site is approximately 8.29 acres. We're developing approximately half of that. So, I mean, there's 2 to 4 acre buffer between development and the residential. So, I mean, you're talking 300 to 400 feet, possibly more.
A lot larger than our requirement. Okay, thank you, because I didn't know exactly what your footprint was. So we didn't have I'm sorry.
Zach Bell, B-E-L-L.
Mr. Bell, he was not here earlier, so now's the perfect time if you want to ask the applicant something. Yes, Councilman Momtahan.
I just want to confirm, have you reviewed the conditions that were proposed?
The conditions that were just put on the screen, that's the first time I'm seeing those from the meeting from earlier today.
I mean, I don't know if you need some time, but would you and your client or your owner agree to those conditions?
I don't know that I'm in a position to speak on traffic studies. That's kind of outside of my realm of my professional realm. I will need to take that back to the owner. But in terms of a site plan, we're working on a site plan as we speak. Our intent was to go through the rezoning of the property prior to fully developing the site with the civil engineer. But we're not seeking any variances under the C2 regulations of the zoning code. So we will fully adhere to that, and I mean we're not seeking any variances.
Okay.
So there were some conditions put on. They're looking to see if they even get the rezoning, to see if they can do anything, right, before they take further steps. Is there a way that down the road we have some other approvals that a condition could be added if you feel that it's vital enough to be in there?
Of course, that'll be the council's decision, but the two things that what I heard you saying in the work session was the two things that were a primary concern is you didn't have a site plan. You didn't know where the building was going to sit. So you wanted to know where the building was going to sit, and it sounds like they're in the process of doing that. What I heard him say also is that, he would have to carry it back to the owner as far as a GDOT traffic plan for that location.
So are we actually trying to get them to do a traffic study or to get approval from GDOT because it's a state road,
Well, ma'am-
what they might require, I'm assuming, decel lanes, things like that, turning lanes. You know.
I'm not aware of what all they would necessarily require us to do. It's an existing site. It's an existing entrance into the site off the highway. The adjacent properties are commercial. There's a Dollar General next to it. It's full access. I don't anticipate any requirements from GDOT.
So do we have a turning lane there? See, I don't know what they required many years ago. Okay, there is the turning lane. I don't know if they have like newer requirements from what they would have accepted years ago.
Well,
Like-
let me add to that. I don't know what the new construction entails that's going on in that road, but it's an existing 2-lane road. There is a decel lane into the property, but there's no turn lane turning left into the property coming southbound. And to address the other concern about deliveries, we are blessed with a big site. Unlike other car dealerships, all deliveries will be on property. So the delivery trucks with the vehicles will pull into property. There's enough room on the lot to turn around and exit the lot. So no deliveries in the turn lane of the highway, which happens in other parts of the county.
Mr. Reese, we do know that the road's going to be wider. Are they going to put a middle turn? Do we know? Does anyone know? I don't know those details on the bypass.
I can't. That roundabout's been being built for as long as I can remember. I would have to go back and look, to be quite honest with you.
The
But I do
roundabout or
understand.
the?
I think Sean said earlier that this is below the limits of the roundabout itself.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah,
It
but
is.
I think
It's this side from the dollar store.
I
Yeah.
think whenever we planned the north bypass, there was a plan to upgrade Industrial Boulevard down from the red light all the way up to the roundabout. I had seen that in paper, but I haven't seen it lately. It's been quite a while since I've seen that one.
Agreed.
Any more questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, Mr. Bell. Appreciate
Thank you for your
it.
time.
If y'all are finished with questions, and it looks like we are for staff and the applicant, I'll open it to a public hearing for anyone that would like to speak for or against this. Don't think you're going to get a new car out of this now.
Peg Taylor again, 2120 Osprey Cove. So I actually used to work at that building when it was 101 and also AP All Plat Mechanical. They had 2 businesses in there, so it's a huge lot. So yeah, the trucks will have no issue getting in and out. I don't remember, since it's been so long, I don't remember, but it seemed like I was able to get out pretty easily, but now that was like 7 years ago, so I don't know. I know traffic has increased, but like you said, the roundabout's going to be going on, so that's going to help the flow at that main intersection. So I think it'll be fine, traffic for that business.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak for or against this item?
Well, Joshua Evans, 640 Cleaver Street, Villa Rica, Georgia. So that lot there holds a special place to me in my heart. I started a welding career there for 101 Metals. I worked for Andy for a long time. Welded on a lot of pipe. I started a pipe fitting career.
guys can
I can
bond.
weld pipe. I can do it all. I've been at bakeries welding, done all of it there. To see someone actually do something with that lot, kudos to y'all. I hope it all works out for you. I don't ever remember we hauled trailers full of metal out of there, and I don't ever remember really having an issue in the mornings getting out. There were issues in the evenings around from about 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. You know, we would have to wait at the railroad tracks to come on up to get into the lot, which, you know, that happens every day anyway. It now happens like that. So this traffic has not been just a problem now. It's always been a problem. So that's just a little history on what went on then. And that's been 10, 12 years ago, maybe even 15. I'm getting older. My memory's slipping me now. But I mean, I think that's an awesome thing for us. Look at we just had to go outside of our city to purchase cars and vehicles. Well, if we have another car lot here, I mean, I would say you got Don Rich, and then if we got Scott Evans, I mean, we can shop there too for city vehicles, right? So we keep the money here in town. So I'm all for it. I'm all for a car lot going there. Plus, if you got something from Scott Evans now in Carrollton, you probably don't have to go all the way to Carrollton anymore to get your oil serviced or whatever. You can probably just go there. So I'm all for that one.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else that would like to speak for or against?
I'm shorter than Josh. Christy Chastain, 239 Berkeley Drive. A couple of things. First off, kudos to you, Sean. Those are some excellent presentations you put together. Thank you for that. On behalf of the citizens, thank you for that.
He just made his night. Thank you. That was very kind.
Well, I mean, it helps us to know what's going on when you put together such clear presentations. And from my part, I appreciate it. Thank you. As far as this application, I really don't see any downsides to this. I can't remember the last time I saw something come up here that fits so well with our comprehensive plan. So I don't see, this should be an easy decision. The size of the lot gives them plenty of room, as he's indicated, to turn their trucks around. I have, no offense, I have seen the trucks pull up at the Nissan dealership in the center lane so that they could unload cars. In Carrollton, yes. So they're not going to have to do that here. I think this is a great opportunity for our city. What brand are you going to be selling there? Do you know yet? I'm sorry, you can't answer that question. I'm sorry. I was just curious because that wasn't mentioned.
You could kind of ask it now, and he could step up and
Yeah,
clarify.
when you come back later. I was just curious what you're going to be selling. So, yeah. So thank you for this application. Thank you for wanting to bring this business to our city. I think it fits really well with what we need. Thank you.
I will address that if I may. I'm not an employee of Scott Evans, Nissan or Dodge. I will say that. We've been hired for them to provide architectural and professional services to them. But my understanding is there is no brand attached to the business as of yet, but hopefully for the future.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you. All right. Anyone else that would like to speak for or against this item? Going once, going twice. All right. I'll refer it back to the council. Either any other questions for staff or applicant. Otherwise, if there aren't, I'm looking, I'll entertain a motion.
I will move to approve the zoning request for Scott Evans to rezone the two tracks located at 615 Industrial Boulevard from I-1 to C2, subject to the two conditions set by staff.
Motion is second. All in favor? Any opposed?
That is unanimous.
Thank you. We're on that so long, I got to find my place again. All right, we're parcels low density commercial. Yes, we're on to C, utilities. Mr. Bain.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jeff Reese, interim city manager. John Bain, my capable utilities manager, is going to tag team with me on this, and we also have the architect, Tim Grizzard, in the audience if the council has questions. So shortly after I took the job here as the interim city manager, I was made aware of a situation that I had no clue that we were in, and that is that we were at 85% capacity at our north wastewater treatment plant. That's the one at the foot of the dam below over at Mirror Lake. So that triggers a bunch of things as far as I'm concerned, but more importantly, as far as a capable staff that I have are concerned, and that is that if we're at 85% capacity now, when we get to 90% capacity, there's a chance that EPD could say, that's it, stop. at whatever point that is, which would affect commercial businesses, industrial customers. It would also affect whatever residential homes that we already had permitted. So that is a serious issue, very serious issue. So started scratching our heads. John and I got together, and I'm going to let him take over in a minute because heaven only knows, I only know a fraction of what he knows. This is a budgeted item, by the way, and I don't think that was mentioned in the work session. So the original budget for this was $2.3 million, and we were 2 years out on that project. I can tell you in the 6-8 weeks that I've been here that number has risen now from 85% capacity to 87% capacity. So we are nearing the 90% mark. So I enlisted the services of someone that I feel like is very capable. He was the former city manager in Carrollton. Carrollton's wastewater treatment facilities are among the best in the nation. And I respect him and admire him, and I also respect our other architects and designers and engineers. The new plan, so we started looking at our options. So my team of engineers and staff started trying to figure out if there was another way that we could do this that would, number one, be quicker, because that's really what we're looking for, is to get it done as quickly as possible. And number two, could it be done cheaper? Because we certainly don't want to pay more than the budgeted amount. So I'm going to let John take over from here, and he's going to get in the weeds and give you the real numbers.
Thank you. I appreciate that. As Mr. Reese mentioned, we hit 85% a short while ago, and we're currently at 87% capacity. And 85% is a bit of a threshold number for the wastewater utility in terms of capacity, because what it means, we can comfortably handle up to 85% and have enough bandwidth for spikes in the utility, or spikes not necessarily in flow but in constituents coming in. If we have a spike in, whether it be a phosphorus or ammonia or some spike coming in the plant, we have the capacity to handle that because we're at 85%. That ability is mitigated and minimized if we get over 90 to 95%. Now we really have trouble if we do get a spike in the constituent. Again, it's not just a function of flow, it's a function of flow and the concentration in the flow stream. So 85% is a number historically, in my time in the industry, which is longer than I care to mention, is typically 85% is a threshold number where we start going to the state and doing what's called a design development report, which is a report on how we're going to improve the plant to accommodate the increased flow. That's what happens at 85%. And then we have a 2-year plan rollout for that, typically, is what happens. And then after 2 years, we implement that design development report. We engage with engineers to design the expansion and move forward. So that's really, to us in the industry, that's a fairly important number. Under 85%, we're pretty usually okay. So that's a little bit of the history behind where we are with that flow today. So as Mr. Reese mentioned, we moved from a budgeted planned item of $2.3 million that unfortunately was going to take quite a while to get across the finish line, and we feel like we didn't have that time available. We went to move to a more design build opportunity with Mr. Grizzard, who has recently, by the way, bid on other pipe projects, force main projects specifically, on a couple other of our lift stations, and was the low bidder on those projects. So he's really comfortable, as are we, with the numbers he provided for the pipe material. And this is largely a piping project. It's roughly, I believe, 4,500 feet of ductile iron pipe that we'd be installing to redirect that flow off of the north plant and move it over to the west plant. So based on where we are in terms of timing, based on where we are in terms of cost, we feel like this, and meeting with our other individuals, we feel like this is a great opportunity for us to get this flow diverted from the north plant to the west plant for a fraction of what was originally budgeted. So in reviewing all of that, at the end of the day, staff recommends the execution of the agreement with Tim Grizzard and Associates for the force main redirect at a cost of $884,500, as well as the purchase of pumps and control panel assembly at the cost of $122,300. which would bring the total cost to $1,006,800 on a budgeted item of $2.3 million.
If I could add a couple of things to that. So what the biggest thing that accomplishes is it takes our capacity from 85% down to 65%. That's significant.
Yes, that's a great point. Thank you.
And Mr. Grizzard feels like that we can complete the project.
I think it can be done by the end of the year if we can get the equipment. The long lead items will be the pumps, which y'all are purchasing those outside of me. That way you don't pay sales tax or any markup. 7% on $122,000 is money you shouldn't ignore.
And that's really another good point. So this is a design build type situation. Normally, if it wasn't an emergency or an urgency, we would go through the bid process. The advantage of doing it the way we're doing it, like Mr. Grizzard just said, is we're buying the raw materials. We're not paying sales tax on them. We're only paying him to do the actual work, getting it in the ground. So that will say, in addition to the other money we're saving over $1 million, we're also saving money by buying the materials ourselves.
Any questions from council? Because we discussed this pretty thoroughly earlier today, but because it was a major expense, we thought we should move it to the main meeting. And for people to be able to hear what's going on and why we're responding and going through the process we are to get this done quickly. If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay. I move to approve the mayor to authorize the engagement of Tim Grizzard and Associates for the redirect of the shoreline force main and the purchase of the pumps and control panel assembly at a total cost of $1,006,800.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed?
That is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, financial update. Ms. Hallman?
Okay. This should be no more than 30 minutes.
I'm going to have to order some pizza or something.
Okay, this is the financial update as of June 2024. Oops. Okay, we'll start with cash. At the end of June, you can see our total cash is $50.8 million, which is a 59% increase compared to the same time period last year. The primary reason for that are the Eastside TAD bond proceed fund, as well as the Eastside TAD debt service, and the 2022 Douglas Splost. But general fund has $11.6 million of the 50.8. Water and sewer fund has $7.2 million. Sanitation and solid waste is $337,000. Stormwater is $1.1. And then you have your what we call Old Carroll, which is your 2015 Carroll Splost, is dwindling down. Right now it has $140,000. With the new Carroll Splost, the 2021 is $7.6 million. The old Douglas Splost is at $3.5 million, and again, that will gradually dwindle down because we have a new 2022 Douglas Splost at $2.2 million. Our residential permits and taps compared to same time period last year. This year, year to date, we've had 186 building permits that total $386,000, and 137 water taps and 127 sewer taps, with there being $206,000 in revenue for water taps and $508,000 for sewer taps. Local option sales tax is still coming in very strong. Compared to last year, we've had an 8.2% increase in Carroll County sales tax. We collected $220,000 for the month of June of this year compared to $203,000 last year. And Douglas County has experienced we've experienced a 2.7% increase of $175,000 this year versus $170,000 last year. Here's your water and sewer fund. It is a enterprise fund or a business activity fund. We've collected $8.7 million in revenue through June of this year, and have 8.5 in expenses. So right now we have a net income of 171,000 compared to last year having a net loss of 379,000. The primary reason for this, as you can see in the two revenue sources, it's primarily having additional water and sewer tap revenue compared to last year, as well as receiving funds from developers for the different lift stations. We have some developer agreements that Bobby is working on, and we have received one of those checks for around close to $800,000. The next business activity enterprise fund is a sanitation and solid waste fund. Our revenues are about 1.3 million through June of this year, and our expenses are at 1.2. So right now we have a net income of $103,000. Self-funded insurance fund. This is for our healthcare fund and wellness, as well as the administration fees that are associated with this fund. Right now, the bank balance is $1,559,035. Our contributions, which are contributions from the employee, Villa Rica as a benefit, and miscellaneous income, totaled $1.7 million. Our expenses have been about the same, a little bit more at $1.78 million. So far, year to date, fiscal year to date, we have a loss of $66,000. But as mentioned earlier in the work session, this was our high claimant year, where we've had a lot of things that have been going on, a lot of expenses, high claims, maybe one or two large claimants, and so that's why that happens every 4 to 6 years. And we think this is the year that we're experiencing that. And that is it. And I'm Jennifer Hallman, Finance Director.
Thank you. We all got to get in the routine.
Yes.
I did the same thing when I got up here, trying to remember the routine for doing things or tweak it or whatever. Thank you, Ms. Hallman. Appreciate that. All right, city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this is what I did sometime in the wee hours of the morning, my city manager report, so I'll get this to you in writing tomorrow. So as all of you know, we're working on the 2025 budget. Kudos to staff for doing a tremendous job, and to the mayor and council for being at those meetings and talking to staff and inputting and listening. And that's the way it always should be. It should always be a relationship between the elected body and the employees. And speaking on behalf of those employees, thank you for your attendance. We really appreciate that. So in addition to that, we're working on the TAD repayment as it relates to future city budgets and the millage rates. And we've started those meetings this week. So I think it behooves all of you to know where we are on that. Every single year you need to know that from your finance manager and your city manager. Because it's going to affect millage rates, it's going to affect other things that happen in the city. We are almost finished with the water rate negotiations with Carroll County and Douglas County, and I hope that will be on your September agenda. What that will basically tell you is how much water we're going to be able to purchase from Carroll County and Douglas County. We've also asked that they include an insurance policy, if you will, for lack of a better term, and that will come from Douglas County, and basically will say that if something happens to our water capacity, so we produce about 1.3 to 1.4 million gallons of water a day at Lake Fashion and Lake Cowan and Lake Paradise. So if something were to happen to that water supply, I wanted some wordage added into that agreement that said we can buy an excess of the water we're already contracted to buy from both of those counties. As you know, we're in both counties. The water situation, I will tell you that the water situation with Douglas County right now is better than the water situation with Carroll County. So our insurance policy will be with Douglas County, and that will basically say that if something catastrophic happens to our water source, we have a backup. We can buy more water, albeit at a larger rate, from Douglas County in this situation. So it's going to be a very comprehensive report, and I look forward to helping to present that. The Publix left turn lane, we met on the job site, Bobby and I did, with the contractor last Thursday, I believe it was. So that's going to commence here pretty quick. We're going to put signboards out on both sides of the construction area. They're lit up signboards so that people will know to slow down and kind of expect there may be some delays. But that will entail a new lane, basically, that will be to the right of the left turn lane that turns at the first entrance into Publix. I'm also proposing that we put a guardrail up along that edge so that somebody can't run off that edge and run down and hit one of the golf carts. That was always a concern, but it really became a concern 3 days after we installed the new light poles along that stretch of road, and somebody run into one of the light poles and knocked it down. 3 days after they had been put up. It's back up now, by the way. We talked in depth about the North Plant force main. I can sleep a little bit better at night knowing that we're going to start that process. We're working on water and sewer capacity in the present and in the future. So one of the things that I realized was with John Bain's skill set and his staff, we are able to tell you now where our water capacity is, where it will be 5 years from now, where it will be 10 years from now. And we're going to work further than that. The staff has that capability. So that's very important moving forward to the city, because there are a lot of things that may go on in this city, a lot of development, whether it's residential, commercial, or industrial. You all need to know what that capacity is. You need to know how much water you can produce, and you need to know how much sewer capacity that you have. Those are very crucial areas moving forward. The Main Street drainage project is ongoing. We ran into a fire, or actually the contractors ran into an old fire line that was probably put in the 50s or 60s, and the cutoff was so messed up we couldn't use it. So they had to install a new cutoff. So that kind of slowed the project down, but it's moving. Connors Road cart path, if you've been up and down Connors Road, that's awful. So we have mitigated with the contractor that installed that to the point where I feel like we have gone as far as we can. And so we're going to come back in, and I'll bring back a quote to you to go back with concrete and instead of asphalt. That asphalt should have never been used, in my opinion, for that cart path, so we'll come back with that so that you can look at it. As was mentioned earlier, the paving projects all over the city are underway. The WIC building, just for your information, will be moved on August the 19th. So just be aware of that so that your constituents know. We are dealing with one of the constituents in that neighborhood, because when they brought the 3 mobile homes in, they actually knocked a limb down which fell on someone's house and did some damage. So we're working through that. Waterford neighborhood, Bobby talked about that in the work session, but just for everybody else to know. So there was about 8 inches of asphalt that was over there in that. That's the subdivision across from the high school on Highway 78, next to the Dairy Queen. So
Wait, not Waterford.
I mean, not Waterford. I'm sorry. I had Coach's
Waterford's
neighborhood.
further
Let's
up.
call it.
Yeah, off of Lassiter,
Yeah, Carroll Vista.
Village
I'm sorry.
Race.
I had
Okay.
2.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you write notes when you're sleeping. But anyway, so we ran into water. And so at that point, it was not an option to go back with asphalt. So we did a process called FDR, full depth reclamation, or soil cement, which basically you come in and you take it all the way down to what should have been gravel was actually dirt. You put the gravel back in, you mix Portland cement with it, you wet it, it becomes a soil cement at that point, and then you put the asphalt on top of that. It works on truck courts in all over this country. It's relatively new in Georgia in my experience, but it works. And so, as Bobby told y'all in the work session, we thought we were finished. We were coming out. We were making our way to the front entrance, and lo and behold, we hit more water. We also had a stormwater structure that was damaged, so we're going to have to replace that. So that's just a product of doing renovation. The Stockmar Park Train project is completed, almost completed. Is almost completed, and for those of you that may not know what that is, so there was always a problem in that first curve as you exit the train station, where there was a lot of elevation, and because of property line restrictions, we couldn't go over the hill. When I say we, I was the one that laid it out and built it with my staff. So the city acquired that property, which allowed us to go in and flatten that out through that curve, which is going to be a lot better for the train. The brakes will hold up better. It'll be a better ride for the customers. So that is nearing completion. So my staff over at the Stockmar Gold Mine Museum has guarded that like a baby and made sure that it was done right. So the other thing that we're working on, and this is something that you wouldn't normally see, it's not a big ticket item, so to speak, but I've kind of reorganized some departments a little bit. Nobody's lost jobs or anything like that, but there were some people that for example, the development department will all be in one place now. So you won't have to go to VPlex to do one thing and City Hall to do another thing. We're kind of consolidating those services. And we're doing the same with some other departments. We had one employee that really had no support staff. And someone else actually pointed that out to me and said, you know, because I noticed that of all the people I meet every week in all our staff meetings, I didn't see this particular person. So we reorganized. It's actually the Main Street, the person that's over the concerts and things that go on at the Mill Amphitheater. So that person now is under Tracy Ivy in the Recreation Department, which is where it was when we built that back in the day. So those are the highlights. You know, we could talk for another 20 minutes, but I think we're probably all tired. But I will send this report to you in writing. So thank you. That is my report.
Anything else from anyone before we wait for a motion to adjourn, since I can't adjourn the meeting by myself?
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? No, but